This news that literally just happened today, literally just happened a couple of hours, maybe like 2 hours ago or so, 3:24 CGT, whatever time zone that is. But that is that Ubisoft could be a new buyout target, and will Sony or Microsoft buy them? So it says here, Ubisoft is the games industry's latest buyout target, but a higher $5.2 billion valuation signals Microsoft or Sony may bid. Now, $5.2 billion really isn't that much money for Microsoft. I mean, we saw what they spent just on Activision. We saw what they spent on Bethesda. And arguably, I thought Ubisoft was bigger than Bethesda. So $5.2 billion valuation, it really doesn't seem like that much for Ubisoft. I thought it would have been more than that. I thought it would have been more expensive or valued more than Bethesda. So if they're looking for a buyout, I think somebody's going to be bidding on it from the big companies like Microsoft, potentially Sony. But they say here, as gaming moves towards subscriptions and digital offerings, content IP and manpower are the industry's most valuable commodity. Companies with powerful networks, ecosystems, and infrastructures like Microsoft have made huge buyouts. We know the Activision Blizzard, Zynga merging with Take-Two for $12.7 billion. That's another one that you don't think about too much. But Ubisoft is one of the few targets left. The publisher is a high value target with multiple billion-dollar franchises. And they have some big franchises that these companies would be chomping at the bit to get. Assassin's Creed, Rainbow Six. Like those two alone, I think would be just extremely huge. Far Cry and so many other ones that it would be huge if somebody picks up Ubisoft. And they're moving into games as a service. So that's where the industry is going. I mean, they already are kind of, but they're moving more into that. We're hearing about the next Assassin's Creed with Assassin's Creed Infinity being more of a games as a service. That'd be stuff like that is what companies are wanting to do, more subscription-based stuff. So they say here, the report doesn't mean Ubisoft has been dealt an offer. The firms are discussing whether or not they'll allocate capital to a possible bidder. Ubisoft has dealt with acquisition offers in the past and staved off hostile takeover attempts from Vivendi. Ubisoft's $5.2 billion valuation means that only gaming upper echelon are the most likely choices for offers. The list includes Tencent, Microsoft, and Sony. However, companies like EA could drum up deals similar to the one that Take-Two made for Zynga. In February, Ubisoft CEO Yves Guillemot acknowledged that buyout offers will be reviewed by the board, but stressed that the company does not need the help of an external partner. Ubisoft can remain independent. We have the talent, financial scale, and launch portfolio of powerful IP. If there was an offer to buy us, the board of directors will review it in the interest of all stakeholders. But apparently it looks like they are looking to be bought. There was a Bloomberg article that, pop it up here, that they are taking offers. They are looking at a potential buyout. I'm going to go through all that stuff here. And it is this here. Ubisoft is in the very early but not serious talks with several private equity firms such as Blackstone and KKR. Meaning that, hey, they're open. They are open to a purchase. Now, what does this mean? Is Microsoft going to buy them? Is PlayStation going to buy them? It's hard to tell. It's hard to know. $5.2 billion valuation. I don't know if I'm assuming PlayStation can afford it, but Microsoft can definitely afford it. And we're seeing what Xbox has been doing with Ubisoft lately, with 2 games, Assassin's Creed Origins and For Honor, coming out onto Game Pass in 2 months. Ubisoft Plus coming over to Game Pass at some point in the future. So that they're building that relationship with them. We've kind of seen them do that previously, building relationships with companies. And actually, that's not true, because with Bethesda, they just kind of went out and completely bought them. No one saw that coming. Nobody saw the Activision Blizzard one coming either. So we've seen them build relationships with like EA, where then EA Play came onto the service. But would Activision Blizzard be, or would Ubisoft be a good purchase for Microsoft? I think anyone who gets Ubisoft will be a good purchase. Ubisoft gets, people complain about Ubisoft a lot. They always make fun of like Assassin's Creed. They always make fun of Far Cry and all that stuff. They say it's always the same game. But if you've actually played through those games, they are a lot of fun. And if you're an Assassin's Creed fan, if you're a Far Cry fan, you are enjoying the Ubisoft games. I mean, I put over like 120 hours or 110 hours into Valhalla. Really, really enjoyed that game. A lot of people hated on it because it was just a big open world map with lots of stuff to do. But I found a lot of the stuff that was in that game was really well done. The environments are incredible. The way that they just create these vast worlds that are so lifelike, like in terms of like one to one with like the buildings and how they represent real historical places. I find it's just absolutely amazing. We've seen that even the stuff that they do, even used in like classroom settings to teach kids about history, right? So I think they do a lot of good stuff. Far Cry 6 as well was one of my favorite games last year in terms of how fun it was. So when they have IPs that are that great, another one, Immortals Phoenix Rising, that's one that flies under the radar. It's a new IP from them that I hope they build on and they make a second one. That game, if you haven't played that yet, I highly recommend checking it out. Then you have Rainbow Six, right? Rainbow Six has always been big. Rainbow Six Siege is still going. Still lots of people play that. So they have some very, very powerful IPs that I think if whoever were to acquire Ubisoft, if it was like a Microsoft or a Sony, it would be a good move. And I think it would make them money in the long run. But I think, honestly, at the end of the day, a Ubisoft acquisition right now makes more sense for PlayStation from what they're trying to do, which is build upon their games as a service. We saw that with the purchase of Bungie, and with Ubisoft titles moving more to games as a service, it would make the most sense for them to do that. And I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, if Sony came out and announced this, that they were looking into purchasing them, because it just, if they want to move to games as a service faster than they are right now, because that's the future, they're going to have to at some point move over and to be able to continue to compete from just making the linear single player games where you make $70 or whatever it is, not even $70 because I think it's like maybe 50% of that. I'm not sure what they make from the actual sale of the game. They're going to have to go down the subscription line. They're going to have to go down the games as a service line. They're going to have to go down to making more multiplayer games where people are spending microtransactions and all that type of stuff. So Ubisoft, it would be a great purchase by anyone, but I wouldn't be surprised if Sony was looking very hard into what's going on here to see if they can somehow come up with the money or whatever to make a deal to help, because this would help them very much move over into games as a service. But what do you guys think about this? What do you guys think? Sony fans don't want Ubisoft. They want to grow organically. They want to grow organically when the narrative they've been told to repeat is that we grow organically. But then when the narrative changes because the business changes, that's what they want to do. Just like last week or this week with the ads and how everyone ripped on Xbox and Microsoft last week about looking at putting ads into free-to-play games. And what do you know? PlayStation's been working on this for the last 18 months as well, which shouldn't surprise anybody. Putting it like ad revenue is an insane way to make money, and it's already out there. Like they're already ads in games, and in free-to-play games, it's like one of the biggest ways that you make money in order to survive and to make it worthwhile to make a free-to-play game. Why does anybody want to make a video game? They love it. I mean, a game, there's got to be passion and stuff like that in order for it to be good, but to make money, right? That's why people make video games. If they're not making any money off it, they won't be able to do it. It will be more than 5.2. Anything publicly traded always goes for more. Yeah, it will be more than 5.2, but I wonder what it would go for, right? Because I wonder what the valuation of Bethesda was before it sold for the $7.5 billion. I'm sure that number's out there. I just don't remember it. I bet there will be a lot of bidders on Ubisoft. I think there will be. I think Ubisoft is a very big name, and although, like I said, they get ripped on a lot, I think they're very desirable company to own in terms of the IPs that they have. Probably looking around $8 to $9 billion mark. Yeah, and again, $8 to $9 billion for Microsoft, I don't think is like they could do it if they wanted to, no problem. There'll be a bidding war. They won't sell at market cap. Yeah, definitely not. I don't think so. I find it weird considering the whole Vivendi thing. Maybe it just wasn't the right number that they wanted. Microsoft can pay $10 billion for them. Yeah, that. So whoever bids on this, I don't know, like Blackstone. I don't know. Blackstone worth. So I guess this is the company, right? Their market cap is 143.25 billion, far less than Microsoft, right? What was the other one? What was the other company? What was the other company? KKR. 48.25 billion. Again, not very much. Microsoft worth 2.09 trillion. Oh my goodness, it's just absolutely nuts. But yeah, like Microsoft could outbid anyone. It doesn't really matter. If they want Ubisoft, they can probably get Ubisoft. We know Microsoft already has a good relationship with them, like I've said, with the Ubisoft Plus coming. So, I mean, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, I think, was mainly marketed with the Xbox Series X when that game launched, with the launch of these consoles. It was like one of the launch games, I guess they were trying to push with it. So they already have a history there. Far Cry 3 or 4 were amazing. Yeah, Far Cry series in general, I've always liked. I love Ubisoft games. They have so much value, and it's always at least above average in quality. Honestly, I agree with that. Like, I know people love to hate on Ubisoft games, but I just feel like a lot of people just don't play them. I mean, yeah, they are repetitive in some way, but I find that it's addicting in a way. Like, I enjoyed Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I enjoyed going out and just doing a bunch of random stuff, collecting everything, and taking out the camps or whatever they were called. Like, and I found Dawn of Ragnarok was a great DLC. Would give Sony a good first-person shooter and another popular third-person game. A popular third-person game that they're turning into a games as a service. I love the Crew games. I've never played the Crew. I hope to God Xbox buys them. Will you do a live stream where you playing games just like the last year? And you do remember playing? I do remember playing MLB last year when it launched. I do. I've actually been playing MLB this week. Sony's the console market leader. Wouldn't this be a monopoly? I don't think so. I don't think so because I don't know. I don't think so. If PlayStation bought them, yeah, probably would mean Ubisoft Plus would never come to Game Pass. I think Ubisoft needs to fix their business models, start bastardizing their franchises. Be a better fit for Sony. Yeah, I agree. Don't want anyone like Blackstone getting their hands on it. I don't know. I don't really know anything about Blackstone. I know Black Rock. Is that the other one? Like the one that people always talk about? But I would say generally you probably don't want just a random company. What do they do? It's an American alternative investment management company based in New York City. You probably just don't want an investment company owning a video game company, because you know every single move will have nothing to do with what can just give us the best games possible. It'll be what can make us penny pinch for every single dollar we can get out of a consumer, right? So yeah, I probably would agree with you on that. Are Canadians' house smell like eggs? No. Ubisoft have over 19,000 devs. I want Sega. Sega would be cool. Or all American house smell like eggs. Okay, Bob, I don't know what you're talking about here. Sega Sober Remedy, Arc System Works. Yeah, I mean, I've been seeing a lot of those like eyes on Twitter, those looking eyes. People are saying there's like a big announcement or something happening with Xbox soon, but who knows what that means. Like I talked about last week. Also, there's this thing here which was really cool, which was this Ninja Theory shares a rendered screenshot as a work in progress from Cinema Sega Hellblade 2. This game is gonna look just insane. It's just gonna look insane. I can't wait to see what just graphically looks like. Even if like you don't play through the game, like even if you're not a Hellblade fan, just looking at the graphics, you got to pull it up on your Xbox just to see what it's gonna look like. Because from it looks, I can't wait to see what Ninja Theory is gonna be able to pull off, and hopefully they don't disappoint. But man, does this look realistic? Looks really, really good. But yeah, like in terms of the acquisitions, I talked about this last week. It's like I just don't think that Xbox needs to acquire anybody right now. I know everybody always wants to see that, but until they start releasing games every 3 to 4 months, people are going to be what's happening right now. People are going to be like, "Oh, it's dry." Blah blah blah. I'm pushing out all these, like, I would say, false narratives that Xbox, there's nothing to play right now because it's dry, there's no games. Yeah, sure, there's no big first party games, but if you literally took 5 minutes and looked at what you can play by signing up to Xbox Game Pass, it's unlimited the amount of games you can play. Plus, if there's so many games that have come out over the last year, there's absolutely no way everybody's played all of those games. But I understand the want and the need for the hype of something new to come out. It gets you excited. And that's why backlogs never get completed, because they're always looking for the next big thing. But Xbox just needs to get that roadmap. They need to get that launch every 3 to 4 months. Have people excited to play a game every 3 months from their first party studios. Plus add again the Game Pass announcements. Because honestly, the Game Pass announcements, I like them. I know majority of people are going to look at the Game Pass announcements and just say like they aren't good. They're just not that exciting, right? But like if we look at the Game Pass announcements for April, like this was their most recent one, right? Yeah, you look at this, you're like, okay, it's nothing crazy, but like this Unsold game, look it up. It's an indie game, looks like a ton of fun. F1 2021. I mean, that's cloud. That's, people who like F1 will like that. Need for Speed Hot Pursuit Remastered, fun game, but that's already been available. You have Bugsnax, PlayStation 5 exclusive. Not my cup of tea. I'm not interested. 7 Days, not really interested. Research and Destroy looks pretty cool. Never heard of it, but looks kind of cool. And then Turnip Boy, I don't really have any interest in that. But Unsold looks really cool. So this month alone, yeah, it's pretty dry. But then you look forward to like May with Trek to Yomi, with Loot River, and all those indie games that are coming out. There is stuff to play. There is stuff to look forward to if you are interested in stuff other than just the big name titles. Plus, there's the entire back catalog of games. And this is where they had also the announcement of Assassin's Creed Origins and For Honor. You know what they should do with Assassin's Creed Origins, because I don't think it's out yet. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is when they put out Assassin's Creed Origins onto Game Pass, they should release it with that 60 FPS upgrade that they said they were working on, because I guarantee that'll get people pumped up. And if you haven't played Assassin's Creed Origins yet, go check it out. It's a very, 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 very good game that I think people played it, loved it, and then Assassin's Creed Odyssey came out and they're like, oh, more of the same. I mean, don't play an Assassin's Creed game if you don't want Assassin's Creed, right? Again, Assassin's Creed Odyssey was an incredible game. Valhalla came out. I absolutely loved Valhalla. I spent so many hours into it. And again, people were just saying it was more of the same. But hey, they're good games. Like that's the way I see it. I don't really want big purchases apart from Capcom. Capcom would be just insane. If I don't really want anyone to buy Capcom. I think Capcom does their thing. They make great games, and they're releasing great stuff all the time. The only thing that I don't like what they do is when they release like Street Fighter exclusively for PlayStation, which we got an announcement for the next Street Fighter, right? And they haven't confirmed yet whether that's coming on to, or whether that's they haven't said anything about that being exclusive. So I'm assuming it's coming onto every console. But Capcom just always make good stuff. And as long as they release all their stuff multi-platform, I couldn't care less. Blackstone is worth 66 billion. Yeah, I mean, small peanuts, right, compared to Microsoft. I'll play on sold and Bugsnax. I love indies just as much as big AAA games. Me too. And I feel like the older I'm getting, I've played games for forever now. So dating all the way back to like Super Nintendo and a lot on the PS1 stuff that I used to be always pumped up for the AAA games, but I've played so many more indie games over the last, like, I'd say 5 years that I've realized that indie games are where it's at if you just want something that completely different. You're tired of all the same stuff that comes out. Ironically, as I just talked about Assassin's Creed, which I absolutely love, but you're tired of like just like the same shine and all that kind of like the cinematics and I don't know, all the stuff that goes into AAA game. You just want something completely different that super creative that you would have never thought of. There's so many great indie games to check out. And they're fun. And the great thing I love about indie games the most is that they focus on gameplay as their core mechanic. At least the ones I've played. I have not played Postal 4 or 2, whatever that is. If Xbox have Ubisoft, they will have games to play in Game Pass every 2 months. Yes, that would be.